Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Holy moly, praise Jesus, man, because we got some crazy footage right now that is filmed apparently over the South Downs in the UK of an orb-shaped thing, right? So this was filmed on a P1000 Nikon camera with a 3000mm focal length lens, which is why you can see the zoom so well right now, okay? Look at this. Apparently this orb was floating there and just kind of doing its thing, right? There's a whole backstory, so I'm going to read this out to you, and you better strap in, mate, because this is going to be one for the books, right? Right, so OP says, 11th of February 2025, 2:30 AM at the South Downs National Park, the UK. I'll try and keep this short. On the 29th of January, I made a post about wanting to get 4K high quality footage of a UFO. I have the equipment and met with an individual who said they could summon one of these things, and since my original post, we have been trying to plan a day which we could meet, which goes into the psionic stuff that Jacob Bob has talked about, okay? Crazy. Right, I arrived at the location, which was just outside of South Downs National Park, which is the area of 1,627 square kilometres, or 628 square miles, found in southern England. Right, that's kind of where I live, and it's a beautiful place. Stretches for 140 kilometres, 87 miles through the countries of Hampshire, West Sussex and East Sussex. Weather was optimal and clear, but there was 10 miles per hour wind, okay? I recorded the object over a 20-minute period on both my Nikon P1000 and my iPhone, which is he has a second perspective on his iPhone that will just pop up here in a moment for you, right? Because it's absolutely incredible. For comparison, I captured some footage of the object on my iPhone 14 Pro Max to demonstrate that the phone quality footage is and will always be bad when it comes to this type of footage we need moving forward. I was surprised at just how much different the object looked on my iPhone. Knowing exactly where the object was is hard to guess. I estimated it around 400 meters, 1,422 feet away from where I was filming. The cars that could be seen going by in the background look close, but after looking at Google Earth, they are about 1,080 meters, 3,543 feet from where I was filming. So the object is somewhere between those two spots. I also was filming from the top of the hill that was on an incline, so our eye line was above most of the trees below us, right? And again, look at the comparison of the footage here between the Nikon P1000 and the iPhone. Bloody incredible, mate! While zooming in, I noticed a strange blur field around the object, and I struggled to get a constant shot where the object was to be clear. It was like it would find the object, and then immediately after, the ring of blur could be seen around it, and that does follow suit with lots of sightings we've seen where people can't focus on these friggin' objects, bro. I haven't seen this before while using this camera. I only ever seen it when trying to photograph something light and circular in a dark setting, but that always has been on a telescope. It could be nothing, but it's something that I noticed. Multiple times in the video, the object can be seen dropping and then moving upwards side to side. There was a 10 miles per hour wind, so if the object was a piece of debris or something caught in the upwind, it should have travelled 2.17 miles in a 10 mile per hour wind over 13 minutes. That's a mad calculation, bruv. Alright? We were there, I'd say, for around 30 minutes and filmed the object for around 20 minutes in total, and it could be seen in the same spot and definitely didn't move a few miles while we were there. As I was switching cameras, the object moved upwards and diagonal, and within 20 seconds it was gone. I do have photographs, and the object was left in the air, shot off, and moved further into the distance. I also took around 90 photos of the object on my P1000, some of which are very clear. I plan on making a full video of everything that was captured, right? So we are waiting for more information. There you go, guys. You let me know what you think. This is absolutely insane, and this much detail, bro. Come on.
I've actually complained on here before that we've never seen any UFOs flying over a flat earther's house because they all have these awesome P1000 cameras. It's pretty frustrating though to find out that they apparently have some sort of force field around them that makes them appear blurry even when you're using a camera of that quality. I looked up the original video, and when he zooms in, it's either got something around it that's making it appear slightly blurry, or he's just slightly out of focus, which would be really unfortunate for a video that's this good.
This is a newspaper clipping from 1935. Ancient pyramid found beneath Wisconsin Lake. A 1,000-year-old pyramid lies under the waters of Rock Lake, Wisconsin. A diver in 1935 swam down and found the pyramid. These small pyramids are all over that area, said to be built by elementary school students. Cap. This small pyramid, found in Madison, Wisconsin, has indigenous faces all over it.
This video doesn't seem like much, but whenever I first heard this, I had to go do some digging and investigate, and it's a very interesting story. Apparently, there's still some debate about whether or not this is a pyramid, or it's just a pile of rocks that were piled up neatly by some melting of some glaciers. But with all the other evidence that we've seen of ancient civilizations likely occupying these lands far before the Native Americans did, I would say that it's likely this is another attempt at a cover-up of our ancient history. One of the biggest clues to point me in that direction is the fact that this is a wildly popular site amongst the diving community specifically because of these structures, but I can't find a single photo online that's supposed to show one of these structures below Rock Lake. Every one of them that I find appears to be stolen from another website showing a completely different lake.
This is Seattle, Washington. We were told that they had to raise the streets and level certain areas, and just looking like an absolute reset wasteland, like the ground has been sucked away. But what interested me most about this very, very early photo of Seattle, Washington, was this little skyscraper back here. Look at this thing. This is the earliest photo of Seattle. Most people might be looking at this house or this one. These men down here, it looks like the gallows or something right in the center here. Is somebody hanging? Zoom in a little more. But what I noticed in the earliest photo we can see is a full-blown city back here. Skyscrapers. And then this one. Hello. What is this? I mean, looking as modern as anything today.
If these are real, this would be some pretty damning evidence. I did a reverse image search on that first photo on TinEye, and this does appear to be a historical photo showing them leveling the hills to create Seattle. This one is going to be hard for historians to explain. This looks like more evidence for Tartaria to me, and it's probably the most convincing photo I've ever seen to back up the idea that we didn't build all of these massive ornate buildings. We found them. Hey, don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at berry-stepp.com.
Bolivia's Salar de Uyuni, the flattest place on Earth. Scientists say the Earth is a ball, but this location tells a different story. We've been told Earth has a curve, right? A giant spinning sphere where water bends and the horizon drops at 8 inches per mile squared. But what if I told you that in one of the largest natural landscapes on Earth, that curvature is nowhere to be found? Salar de Uyuni stretches for over 4,000 square miles, and guess what? It's completely level. No drops, no curves, just an endless flat horizon. Now, mainstream science will tell you that it's just a coincidence, a result of unique salt formations. But let's think critically for a second. If we lived on a ball, shouldn't we see some measurable curve over such a massive distance? Yet, when water covers the surface during the rainy season, it creates a perfect mirror reflection. Not distorted, not curved, but flawlessly flat. This isn't just a cool visual effect. It's a direct contradiction to what we've been told about Earth's shape. Scientists use Salar de Uyuni to calibrate satellites because it's the flattest natural surface ever recorded. But if Earth is a sphere, why is the flattest place so perfectly level? The horizon at Salar de Uyuni extends endlessly. No curve, no drop-off, just a straight, uninterrupted view. When photographers take long-distance shots across the salt flats, objects remain fully visible when they should be hidden beyond the globe's so-called curvature. If the Earth were really a spinning ball, shouldn't this place prove it? But instead, it does the opposite. So what's really going on here?
What is going on there? I'm pretty much settled on the Earth being a globe. I've read the parts of the Bible that are supposed to say that the Earth is flat, and that's just not the interpretation that I'm getting. There are certainly some strange anomalies that make it easy for me to see how people could get behind the idea of a flat Earth, though. How in the world does a place like this exist on a globe? Are we essentially shaped more like a flat tire or what?
Everyone's been so curious as to why all these plane crashes keep happening, but I don't know if any of you recall this clip of this prophecy.
The Lord said, beware of the attack coming under the ground. There shall be the greatest security breach we have ever seen in America, something that the government is not prepared for. It will affect banking systems, the stock markets, put a shield, and I pray that we put a shield of protection around every being in this room. It will affect hospital information. It will affect surgeries to where they're in there and somehow they're going to hack the systems where the doctors will no longer be able to see patient information. He said that it will affect flights. The towers will no longer be able to communicate with the air. You will suddenly see thousands of planes grounded all of a sudden. You will see it in the news. You will hear about a major security breach that will affect, and we don't have the fighting ability. America is not ready for this attack.
Do you see that? Like, that's literally all I've been thinking about since all this has been happening, and it's really insane. But I believe this is prophetic, and this is a warning to me. My opinion, this is what I see. I think this is spiritual. Yes, this is happening in the natural, but I also believe this is somewhat supernatural. All these things that's been going on in this world today, we are living in the end times. I will say it again. I've said it before. I will say it again. And now all these drastic things are going on in this world that we just cannot account for. We just don't even know how to measure or understand, because we had never seen it happening like this before. But we are here. There's literally nothing else we can think of other than a prophetic warning of what's to come with reality. Like, I believe that something is going on with the government, and I don't know. I just feel like God is trying to tell us now to be prepared. This is no coincidence. It's very terrifying, and it makes me not want to get on a single plane. However, I got to keep living, you know. I got stuff to do. I got places to go, so God be with me. That's just how I think about it.
I haven't really touched on the situation with all these planes falling out of the sky lately. I've been kind of sitting back and watching what's going on to see how all this was going to continue. Now, I haven't really made my mind up yet on what I think is going on, but it certainly looks like they're trying to make us too scared to get on a plane for some reason. That's the only explanation I could think of that would have someone doing this stuff intentionally. And while I'm not saying that it is being done intentionally, I learned a long time ago not to ignore coincidence. And when you have this many plane accidents in this short of an amount of time, that's one heck of a coincidence to just write off as chance.
This tribe in West Africa called the Dogon tribe wasn't discovered by the Western world until like 1936, I believe, by this one anthropologist.
Yeah.
What he found weird was this tribe in Africa, they have this story of these star people coming down to them and teaching them this knowledge. This was the craziest thing. They like had these drawings of the star Sirius. All these different civilizations, they all were like fascinated with the star Sirius. But what's weird about this tribe is that, so Sirius A is the main star, right? They also had drawn Sirius B, which is a smaller star that you cannot see with the human eye. In fact, we didn't discover it until the later 1900s when we created the radio telescope. We didn't know that existed, but they knew about it. That star, the exact location.
How?
But the Sirius C, I don't think it's an even smaller one, and I don't think they've discovered it yet. But the tribe is like, oh, it's up there.
Claims
That's
that we
where
found it.
these gods came from, was this constellation.
Oh my gosh.
Scary. That's what always will blow my mind. Like,
Most of the evidence that I'm seeing points to these supposed aliens being fallen angels. Maybe that's only what some of them are, maybe that's what none of them are, but that's what it looks like to me. So if that's the case, what is the deal with all of these ancient civilizations being given advanced knowledge of the stars and being told that that's where their gods come from? Was this just a cover story created by the angels to explain their origin without the shame of the truth? It seems like a lot of ancient civilizations were given this same origin story by whoever it was that showed up to help them jumpstart their civilization. I know one thing though, whoever gave them that information clearly knew what they were talking about and appears to have known more about it then than we do currently. If it was a cover story, it was a good one.
I lived in an old house. It had fireplaces in every room except the bathroom. The realtor told me that the fireplace cannot be used because it wasn't built properly. I thought it was strange. The Tartarian fireplaces did not burn. Fireplaces were as spectacular as the buildings they stood in. But unlike the way we use fireplaces today, the fireplaces themselves were not designed to burn anything. The chimneys were not used to draw smoke out of the fireplace, and out of the house's structure were not used primarily to provide any structural support. The reinforcement in the house was connected to the dome of the tower on the roof, which was quite possibly filled with various substances such as mercury, radium, or quartz crystal, and metal bars sticking out from the top and sides of the building. Everything was then connected with the metal back sheeting found inside the original Tatar fireplaces and chimneys. Metal poles sticking out of the upper and sides of houses and other Tatar buildings acted as ethereal electric antennas that harnessed the power of the ether to channel this free energy into the chimney. The air ventilation shafts, air ducts, found in the rooms of the house were connected to the chimney. Ionized air, along with rising and falling currents of hot and cold air, created a pressure electric vacuum inside the chimney. During the winter, chimneys acted as pressure electric vacuums emitting captured heat inside the chimney out over the fireplace. During the summer, the process would be reversed and the fireplace and ventilation pipes would absorb heat into the fireplace and air ducts, connected to the inside of the chimney inside the house and through ionized air from the etheric electrically charged metal backboard. Inside the KO mine would push the heat up the chimney and out the house. Reinforcement, dome, roof towers and metal bars sticking out of the sides of the house acted as a spider, attracting ether and concentrating etheric energy throughout the house. Just like spiders can grow and survive without food and water if they touch their web, Tartarians were able to live without food and water provided they remained inside their etherically charged home.
There are a lot of assumptions being made there, like how that technology supposedly worked, got all the details of it figured out. This guy's making the claim that the Tartarians could survive off ether alone. I don't believe that. At least I don't believe that he knows that information. It could be true, but how in the world would this guy know that without conjuring it up? We have shaky evidence that they even existed at best. How would he know what their diet was? And I'm not really smart enough to know if the explanation he gave on how that fireplace supposedly works makes sense or not, but I know we have a lot of really smart electricians and stuff that watch the show. Does this make sense to anyone, or is this guy just grasping at straws?
You guys realize over 100 women were kept as slaves on a human egg farm in Georgia, and they were forced into egg trafficking? This is terrifying. 3 Thai women escaped to this human egg farm in Georgia, and that's how the whole thing was exposed. The victims were lured on Facebook through fake surrogate job offers. They were promised large amounts of cash to carry children for couples that were having troubles having children of their own. They often weren't paid what they were promised or weren't paid at all. Upon arrival, they were imprisoned with like 100 other women, then subjected to non-consensual medical procedures. This is what one survivor said. They took us to a house where there were 60 to 70 other Thai women. There were no surrogacy contracts, parents. Women were injected with hormones, put to sleep under anesthesia, and their eggs were extracted by a machine every month. This is terrifying. I've seen movies on Tubi about this. The fact that they were women struggling financially already because they were, looking for surrogacy jobs. Go on Facebook and look for a job tells me that you need money. Many victims didn't receive a payment at all, like I said. And the ones that did try to leave were forced to pay a ransom to buy their freedom. The women were struggling financially, so they came with nothing, literally. One of the victims did buy her freedom. She was able to escape. She let the authorities know when she was able to escape and buy her freedom what was going on. According to this article that I'm reading now, they're still investigating and they're still in the process of rescuing women. They're not sure how many more women possibly could still be imprisoned. There's a report that 257 Thai women have already fell victim to this human trafficking scheme in 2024. It's scary. I guess the scam even goes further because they manipulate donor profiles so customers don't feel guilty about using eggs from poor abused women. So the people that are getting the eggs have no idea where they come from. Here they think that they're getting them from educated middle class women. That's what they tell them. It's a huge operation and they're still investigating and in the process of trying to take it down. And I hope that they do take it down.
This is terrifying, and I would assume those eggs are likely being sold over here in the United States, so it would be safe to assume that someone over here is in on the operation and knows how the whole business runs. I hope they investigate all the buyers in this as well. Even if they weren't knowledgeable about where this stuff was coming from, they may actually put a dent in the trafficking problem if they actually started going after these people.
So the Acambaro artifacts were discovered in Mexico in 1994. 33,000 artifacts found. The carbon date put them back 6,500 years ago, 4,500 BC. The artifacts were so strange, and I've never heard of them. Probably because the story's trying to get swamped over by the Smithsonian. They consisted of stone and clay, like figurines and stuff, of like dinosaurs.
Oh.
There was one figurine of a warrior riding a triceratops. And then they had other figurines of like mermaids. They even had one that looked like Bigfoot. Just this crazy stuff.
Like these things have been happening for a long time.
Yeah, but that like totally messes with the whole narrative that humans interacted with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Because there's a man riding a dinosaur.
The timeline is scrambled.
It was authenticated by 3 men in the profession that were like, they knew what they were looking at and what they were talking about. But then the Smithsonian, they were funding it. Like, nope, this is all, it's a fraud. None of these are real. We're going to carbon date it ourselves. And they did, and they're like, these are only 30 years old. Everyone's like, what?
The old Smithsonian Institute is at it again, covering up history. The Wikipedia article for this goes really hard at trying to convince you that this was all done by some local family back in the 40s who couldn't sell their pottery. But over 30,000 pieces, all made by a family-run business in a small Mexican town in 1944. I don't buy that for a second. If there were only a couple hundred of them, maybe. But that just doesn't make any sense. This has all the classic signs of a cover-up.
I know moving giant stones is something ancient cultures did all the time, but sometimes you really have to ask, how? This is the Yangshan Quarry in the Nanjing province of China, and we can't even begin to imagine how they planned on doing anything with this. Mind-bafflingly enormous blocks that weigh up to 16,000 tons. That's 10 times heavier than the Forgotten Stone in Baalbek, Lebanon, the heaviest official stone block ever quarried. Now I know what you're thinking. Clearly stone blocks of this size were not intended to be moved, right? Well, strangely, there's virtually nothing here that suggests these blocks were meant to stay here. We see these giant holes at the bottom, a common method for disconnecting blocks from the bedrock, and would also be perfect for lifting them, if they even had the technology to lift it, which they definitely didn't in the 15th century when it's thought this project was abandoned. Even today, we would need the most advanced super mega crane to handle something of this size, with the current world record for the heaviest load ever lifted sitting at 24,000 tons by the Honghai crane, ironically also by China. Let's dial it back to one thing that everyone can definitely all agree on. These are clearly not natural formations. Perfect edges, 90-degree angles, obvious evidence of human intervention, and even sculpted knobs along the surface that stick out, which again is a common feature we see in quarried blocks around the world, thought to be used to transport heavy stones. In places like Cusco and Ollantaytambo in Peru, the Giza Plateau in Egypt. The official story of the Yangshan Quarry claims that Chinese Emperor Zhu Di wanted to erect a colossal stele, which is a giant stone monument in memory of his father. So he directed stonemasons to start carving out these gigantic stone blocks, which took them about 8 years to complete, only to realize at the very end that they don't know how to move them and abandon the project. Which sorta just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the Chinese were and still are notoriously smart, suggesting they spent years of hard work and effort carving out these gargantuan blocks, which after 8 years of painstaking work, they look at and go, actually we don't know how to move these, let's just cancel this project. Kinda undermines their intelligence. And it's not just one, they quarried 3 whole megalithic blocks in the Yangshan Quarry without planning how they're gonna move them. Now, the fringe theory suggests that the weathering on these stones appear to put them closer to 8,000 years old rather than the commonly accepted 600 or so. And that the emperor just found this quarry, planned the whole project, his stonemasons look at it and go, bruh, there ain't no way we're moving these, and can it? Remember, history is written by the victors. If the Chinese emperor found this quarry and decided to claim in the official records that he made it, our history books and Google will tell us just that. Maybe the official records are totally right, but perhaps they really are much older than we think, carved by the long-lost advanced civilizations who were known for moving the biggest megaliths in history around the world. And strangely, just like the Yangshan Quarry, many of them appear to have been abruptly abandoned, like some global event took place that caused them to immediately stop their work. In which case, who built this, and how on earth did they plan on moving it?
This is more perplexing to me than the pyramids. How in the world did they plan to move that? And what in the world was it supposed to be used for? Can you imagine if they had gotten that thing erected and put into place for whatever structure they were trying to build? We would be forced to recognize the intelligence of ancient civilizations if they quarried and erected a 16,000-ton stone. For the pyramids, I can imagine they used some form of frequency levitation. Or heck, we got plenty of evidence showing that dinosaurs were here at the same time as humans. Maybe they drug those big stones into place. But this one, I can't even begin to imagine what the game plan was for this thing. It just simply looks like something that shouldn't exist. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com. And don't forget to drop a photo of your merch over in the Discord to get your photo in a video. But with all that out of the way, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.